To all of my aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners, you cannot go into 2023 having a mediocre or average mindset. I'm going to discuss 5 areas where I've noticed over the course of 2022 that actually needs fixing before you can even go into 2023. The first area is that you're taking advice from other mediocre or average people. Look, I can't tell you the countless amount of times that I've talked with entrepreneurs who consistently take bad advice from mediocre or average people. And I'll give you a prime example. Most aspiring entrepreneurs or business owners are at that pinnacle point where they're working 2 jobs, meaning that they're still working their W-2 job and they're working their business. And there comes a point in time where that entrepreneur has to make a decision as to when he or she is going to go full-time in his entrepreneurial endeavors. And see, when you talk to an individual that's mediocre or average, who lacks confidence in themselves, they cannot give you advice as a business owner or an aspiring entrepreneur because they do not understand business nor entrepreneurship at all. So you cannot take advice from these people. I can't tell you the countless amount of times where you've taken advice from these individuals and they don't even lack the expertise to even guide you and help you get to that pinnacle point in your business. They can't help you. They can't help you with making the decision as to when you're going to leave your full-time job to go into entrepreneurship full-time. They will tell you things like, well, wait until your income gets to a certain level to leave, or you got to make sure you got to have 2 years supplies of incomes to even leave. Look, I can tell you this. I cannot give you the advice as to when to leave your job or how to leave your full-time job. But here's what I can tell you. You have to have a high degree of confidence in yourself to be able to make that decision, because it's not a right or wrong answer. If you're confident in yourself, you literally can leave your job without having a certain amount of income. But as soon as you actually get into your business and start putting the time and effort in your business, that high degree of confidence can actually propel and excel you in business. Vice versa. If you don't have a high degree of confidence, right, and you've gotten to that pinnacle point where you've reached a lot of money, you saved up a lot of money from your W-2 job, but if you don't have that confidence, you're not going to succeed in your business. It's just not going to happen. The confidence has to be there. I want to share a story with you that happened to me back in 2010. It's a true story. So in 2010, I was transitioning from South Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia. And I was actually looking for a job from within Atlanta before I was going to transition from South Carolina to Atlanta. And so I kept looking and didn't find a job. And I was just listening to mediocre and average people. They were talking to me about, well, you got to have a job before you left. And I continued to pray about it and continue to seek God's advice and seek wisdom and continue to read my scriptures and try to, get a better understanding of what I was supposed to do. Then it literally hit me. I got an answer one day, and let me tell you where the answer came from. I went to a gas station, and this lady was traveling from Florida to North Carolina. However, she stopped in South Carolina, and she had a mattress on the top of her car, and she had 2 kids in her car. And, I was driving my car, and her and I struck up this conversation somehow. I don't recall how the conversation got struck up, but we struck up this conversation. And I just happened to ask her, I was like, hey, where are you going? She said, well, I had just landed a job in North Carolina, and she was pretty much traveling, with that mattress on her car because she was going to do everything in her power to pretty much make sure she succeeded in her job. So she had the mattress on top of the vehicle, and she had the kids in the car, and she was packed up on her route to North Carolina for that job. And guys, that was my answer. That was my answer, that I had to leave South Carolina. I was going to leave South Carolina without a job, transition into Atlanta, use my resources and money that I had saved up, get a place in Atlanta, And that's what I did. I packed my family up, left South Carolina, and went to Atlanta. And when I got to Atlanta, that's when the job comes. That's when things begin to open up for me. That's when, the blessings started to pour and everything opened up for me. And see, that's what I was saying earlier with your business. I can't make the determination as to when or how you will leave your full-time job to go into full-time entrepreneurship with your business, because that's not my determination to make. See, when I left South Carolina to go to Atlanta, I had a high degree of confidence. I'm a confident man. I have very high confidence in myself and in my ability. And see, that's what you have to have in yourself as an entrepreneur. I cannot give that to you, nor can mediocre or average people. I'm telling you, do not listen or take advice from these people. They cannot help you. The second piece of advice that I want to give you is that you cannot let other people schedule your time for you. Look, mediocre and average people will always come up with things for you to do. They will always come up with things for you to do at the last minute. You as an entrepreneur have to have your schedule out 1 to 2 weeks or even longer to have a detailed schedule as to how you're going to work in your business. And guess what? When mediocre or average people call you, send you a text message, or send you a message through your social media to attend this event or to do something for them, and if that conflicts with your schedule, you got to say no. Your magic word has to be no, and you cannot be afraid to use it. You have to tell them no, because if you have a scheduled appointment where you're meeting with a client and these mediocre or average people try to throw an event at you that conflicts with your schedule where you're making money, you got to tell them no. And if they get mad, so be it. They're not going to understand your business schedule, because from their mindset, they have a 9 to 5 mindset where they're clocking in at 9, leaving at 5 o'clock. That's their whole life. That's what their whole life consists of. You cannot allow them to dictate your schedule. That cannot happen. So again, if you have your schedule planned and detailed out, mediocre and average people cannot dictate your schedule for you. The third thing that you have to be careful of, guys, is that you got to learn how to delegate. You have to be able to delegate work out, guys, even down into your personal life. If you have the money, delegate. I'll give you a prime example in your personal life, right? Right now, you know that you're an aspiring entrepreneur and you have your business that you're working on. So if you know that, it's a Saturday and it takes you 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever the case may be to clean your house, and if you can get someone, let's say for $140 or $200 to come clean your house, pay that person, delegate that task out and allow them to clean your house. You do not want to actually spend your time taking your time out of your busy schedule cleaning your house. That's why you can outsource that and pay people to do it, guys. You cannot waste your time doing that. If you have the money to do so, pay someone to do it. Someone with a mediocre or average mindset says, oh, I'm not going to pay anyone to clean my house because I can do that for myself. That's their mindset. But you as an entrepreneur, you cannot take on that same mindset where you're actually going to take time out of your schedule to clean your house, or much even less, cut your grass. You can't waste your time doing that, because number one, you could be dedicating that time in your business, or you could be dedicating that time to rest and spend time with your family. So do not take on that mediocre mindset or average mindset where you have to hoard and do everything for yourself to thinking you're pretty much keeping money in your pocket. I can guarantee you this. If you're in your business and you're meeting with customers, right? And your customers are actually paying you, a certain amount of money where you're making money and you're utilizing that time to make money, and you're pretty much taking time out of your business to go clean house or pretty much cut the grass or whatever, guess what? You're going to lose money. You got to get out of that mediocre or average mindset. Get rid of that, guys. The fourth thing, guys, you have to not be dependent on others. And I'm going to give you a prime example of what I'm talking about here. You got to get out of that mindset of having that mindset of dependency. So right now, you're at the pinnacle point right now in your job as an aspiring entrepreneur. You're sitting there waiting, trying to make a determination as to when you're going to leave, right? But because, you have become so dependent on your job for money, you just don't know when to leave because you're dependent on them. You don't know when to cut this umbilical cord and get away and start to pretty much produce your own income. Right now, as an aspiring entrepreneur, you're probably not making like really any money, or you're making some money at this point, but you know that as soon as you actually leave that W-2 job, you have the capability to produce even more money if you leave. But that's, again, you have to have that high degree of confidence to do that. You have to have that confidence and ability and belief in yourself to leave. And if you don't have that confidence, you're just not going to be able to leave. But at some point, you're going to have to not be dependent on that job, guys. I see a lot of times where people, pretty much pick on people who are dependent on social services, right? And one of the things that they like to say about people on social services is that they're dependent on the government, right? They always say, well, they're dependent on the government. And my question really is, well, what's the difference between a person that's on social services who's dependent on the government in contrast to the individual that has a job who's dependent on the job for money? The only difference is that, the person who's on social services, may or may not work, and, they need a little help, so they're dependent on the government. And the individual who's dependent on their W-2 employer, of course, they're working. However, they're still dependent on their employer for resources. They have the same similarities, right? Both are dependent on someone. And see, once you have that mindset of being dependent on someone, like your job for money, guess what? You're going to be stuck. You're going to be miserable. And you're going to always have that mindset of dependency. And guess what? That's a mediocre or average mindset. And guess what? Because that's what everyone else does. Lose that state of mindset of mediocrity, of being average, so that you won't be dependent on others. And that fifth bullet item, guys, the fifth bullet item is, look, you got to be charitable and give resources back to society. I know a lot of you are in a position right now where you're contributing to your church, but guess what? This world is bigger than that. You have a community for which you live in, for which your church does not contribute to. So I know a lot of people live pretty much attend churches where it's outside of their place of community, where their church does not contribute to their community. So guess what? If you're contributing only to your church, your community is not getting your time and talent. So your community is lacking the resources that they need. So it's bigger than just contributing to your church, guys. You got to be able to contribute to your community also. Your community needs you. So in order for you to be successful as you begin to make money, as you begin to build that knowledge and expertise, give back to your community. Don't have that mediocre or average mindset where you're going to only give to one particular area. Your community needs you also. With having a mediocre or average mindset, you're going to limit your ability to give and contribute to others. Because guess what? As you give and contribute to others, it pretty much keeps you humble. It keeps you at a humble state to ensure that when you always elevate and rise and get to that next level, you're going to always remember where you came from. So make it big. Don't only just give towards your church, give towards your community. Give toward other charitable contributions also. Give toward, colleges and universities who need your time and talent and your money also. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't, give to your church, but I'm expanding that giving to give to other areas also. So as you complete these 5 areas as, an individual who's aspiring entrepreneur who or someone who's already started their business, guys, you're going to be blessed more than ever. Blessed more than abundantly. So focus on these 5 areas, lose that mediocrity or average mindset, and I'll guarantee you, once you lose that mindset, you'll excel and be better than ever in 2023. I wish you much success and blessings in 2023.